Hello everyone, this is Sabah and welcome back to Security Controls Through an Architect's Lens on SecureTerminus. In the last few episodes, we focused heavily on securing human access, right? We spoke about IAM, MFA, authorization, conditional access, and many more. But today we shift focus because in modern environments, attackers are not always targeting users anymore, right? So they are targeting missions. So today we are talking about secret management. Most security incidents, right? So they don't begin with a sophisticated hacking. They begin with credentials that are already exposed somewhere. Say, for instance, an API key sitting in a repository, a database password inside a config file, a token copied into a script few years ago and never changed, right? Attackers don't always break security controls. Sometimes they just reuse trust which already exists. So now, what exactly is a secret, right? A secret is any credential used by systems to authenticate, right? So let's keep it that simple. This includes your API keys, your OAuth tokens, your database passwords, certificates, SSH keys, and your service and any account credentials, right? And here's the important shift. Missions authenticate far more frequently than human do. Do you agree? Yes. So every microservice call, every deployment, every automation workflow, it all uses secrets, right? So the real identity problem today is not just users, it's the workloads. In most enterprises, right, you might have like thousands of employees, but you often have hundreds of thousands of secrets. But why is that? Microservices, automation, CI/CD pipelines, your cloud native architectures, every integration creates another credential. From an architect's perspective, the identity perimeter has quietly moved from people to systems. Now, let's talk honestly about how secrets actually exist, right? So they live in environment variables, your configuration files, your YAML templates, deployment scripts, and many more places, right? A developer copies a working configuration to fix an issue quickly. That single secret then spread across environment without anyone noticing. So here, convenience slowly becomes a permanent risk. That's something we see in many enterprises. And when it comes to traditional IAM, right? So this was actually designed for humans, like you and me. Humans log in, humans log out, humans can actually be monitored, right? So mission don't behave that way. I mean missions, right? The automatic logins and all. They run continuously. They rarely rotate credentials, and they operate very silently, which means long-lived trust accumulates without visibility. And attackers usually love long-lived trust, so that's a problem here. And when it comes to some core problems, right? Most organizations usually struggle with these five main issues. One is your secret sprawl across environments, your credentials that never expires, no automated rotation of your credentials, and then your overprivileged service accounts. We spoke about this in a different episode, you can refer that. And also the last thing is no clear ownership of this particular credential or the secrets. If you, I'm sorry, if you cannot answer where your secrets exist and how are they managed, you don't actually control access, right? You don't control that at all. It's in control of someone whom you doesn't know. Now, so what secret management really means? So secret management is not just storing password inside a vault. I've seen different organizations saying like we have a vault, so we are doing secret management. Actually, no, right? So real secret management means secure storage, your controlled retrieval, short-lived credentials, and your automatic rotation and full audit visibility, right? So the goal is reducing trust exposure, not just hiding your passwords. So that's your real secret management all about. And now, if we talk a little bit about static versus dynamic secrets, static secrets are created once and live forever, like a fossil, right? Dynamic secrets are generated when it is needed and expire automatically. So think about a database credential valid for many years versus one valid for 1 hour, which is safe. You can feel that, right? So architecture maturity usually comes from reducing your credential lifetime instead of endlessly protecting a static one. Now rotation, right? So rotation usually limits attackers dwell time, right? So even if a credential leaks, its usefulness disappears quickly because you're rotating it, right? Many breaches succeed because credentials remain valid long after exposure. It can be hours, it can be days, years, anything. So security improves dramatically when expiration becomes automatic rather than manual. So that's the rotation and the importance of rotation. Now, okay, let's talk a bit about CI/CD. So CI/CD pipelines are one of the biggest blind spots, right? So pipelines often hold production level permissions because it need it, right? If an attacker compromise the pipeline, they inherit deployment authority, right? At that point, security tools inside the environment may not even recognize some malicious activity because the attacker completely looks legitimate. So we need to protect secrets in CI/CD as well. And okay, secret management connects directly with your IAM, your PAM, your conditional access, and obviously your zero trust architecture. We spoke about all this in different videos if you really want to deep dive about what is PAM, what is conditional access, and all those things. So, here again, coming back to the topic, this is not a DevOps convenience feature, right? So, it is fundamentally an identity control for missions, and without it, zero trust cannot realistically work. So yeah, that's your integration with other controls. So in a strong architecture, applications never store secrets locally. Whenever you assess an architecture or whenever I assess an architecture, if it stays we are storing secrets locally, it means the architecture fails. There is a risk. So instead, they request credentials at runtime using identity based authentication, right? So your short lived tokens replace permanent passwords. So this shift is from stored credentials to trusted identity exchange. That's the shift what we are talking about. And yeah, a very common mistake in deploying a vault but continuing to use static password, right? So this is one of the very common mistake. Another one is your manual rotation. People say, okay, we have a policy to rotate and we are doing this rotation manually. So that's a mistake. Or even like your shared accounts, shared service accounts, what I mean is used across multiple systems. A single service account using for different purposes under different systems. That's a risk again, that's a mistake. So buying a tool does not change architecture. Behavior and the integration, right? So that will actually change the architecture and that's going to make us more stronger. Now, what we'll do is here's an typical incident, just for an example, right? An API key is accidentally pushed to a repository. That key has administrative cloud permissions. So there is no expiry and attackers discover it and gains silent access. No exploit was needed at all. it's kind of only trust reuse, right? So this is what we were talking about, and this is just an example what can happen in real world. And okay, I love to provide this always. So as an architect, we should always ask, who owns this secret? How long does this live? Right? Can it rotate automatically? Is access identity based? And is usage monitored? Right? So these becomes the very important things what as an architect during any assessment we need to ask. So if these answers are unclear, it means the risk already exists. And okay, as a key takeaway, attackers rarely guess credentials anymore. Brute force and all, right? It happens, but still, it's not very common these days. They harvest secrets already trusted by the environment. So security maturity begins when credentials stop becoming permanent. And we spoke about this before. And make sure the checklist what I've given to ask all these questions when you say your enterprise is doing secret management, to make sure whether they are doing it properly or just for the compliance sake, right? So yeah, this was secret management through a architect's lens. In the next episode, we continue mission trust by exploring key management and some encryption controls as well. So, if this series helps you see security controls beyond tools and into architecture, you are in the right place, right? So, this is Sabah from SecureTerminus. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.